Hello my friends and welcome back. I'm Chisgule Gaming, and in today's video, sponsored by the makers of Rise of Kingdoms, we're going to go over the Amsterdam meetup, which just happened. And it's really funny because like Cortex is there. I knew he was going to be there. I should have asked him for the screenshots. So instead, I ended up getting them from the King's Codex, big Discord server run by my buddy Ruz, linked down below in the description. I also got to watch the keynote by checking out Plato's live stream of the event. He was there in person and streamed it, which is really chill. I'll have a card in the end screen for his stream, so you can just watch the whole thing yourself. But let me give you a summary of some things and give you some insights into what's coming that wasn't explained in the meetup, but it's in Call of Dragons, and so we know exactly what's about to happen. Let's talk about it. This is one of the slides I wanted to call attention to, which is that there are bad governors, you know it, I know it, rogue players that cause problems. They're going to make it so that, I guess, titles, I think, on rogue actors will make it so they can't enter into KVK. Beautiful. They literally just make it a pain in the ass. So, like, yes, get rid of them. Now, this is kind of interesting. They said they're going to decouple the cosmetics and the buffs of civilizations. So you can have the look and feel of any civilization you want and the buffs of some other civilization. I do not think that this means mixing and matching your buffs. I do not think this means mixing and matching different stat buffs with a special unit. I think it is purely the cosmetics that you could have be for some other civilization, despite the fact that you would have the, I think, unit and buffs for one specific civilization. Up next, they're adding an upgraded attack march. I called for this to happen, and it has happened, or it will be soon. My understanding is that this is going to be better than it is today, but still not as good as a player would do theoretically. Let's debate on how good a player would do when they're exhausted and they've been doing this for 18 hours straight and haven't slept in a couple days. But yes, I think this is a win. I think it's very good for the game. I don't always want to be micromanaging all of my marches when I'm trying to make dinner, or I walked up to a ball fight and then my daughter comes over and I need to pay attention to her. Like, this is a W of a feature, and upgraded attack march should be really good. They showed a video of it in the meetup, and I believe that all of the actors in the the armies in the short video they showed are being automatically played with attack march, which is it looks good. Up next, they're replacing merits with Acclaim. Acclaim is going to include things like troop losses into your performance. So I think this is starting to tackle the problem of feeling like if you didn't get KP and trade positive, then you didn't do anything, right? Like, hopefully this removes the feel bad of going out, leaving your city, getting dumpstered, and getting nothing for it because you either got KP or you got nothing. So I think this Acclaim system could be very interesting. If we zoom into this, there is your highest Acclaim, and then there is your current, perhaps total Acclaim. It might be current Acclaim and highest Acclaim ever, and it resets each season. And also there is still a kill point number, it looks like in this screenshot. So we'll see exactly how it works out. But I think that the way the system works today with KP and the way that they track it in-game today this is going to be an improvement from where we are. So let's see how that works once it gets here. This is a closer picture of the improved KVK rewards. I mean, what I think they're highlighting here is that now it's Acclaim, not merits, associated with some of these tiered rewards, all right? And here it is again, Acclaim, not merits. Sorry, it's not the most amazing screenshot in the world. Now, the big stuff that's coming. Let's talk about this. On the outside of the map for Ark of Osiris, they're adding bosses. Now, what they mentioned in the meetup is that after you defeat a boss, it sounds like you're going to get a buff for your team temporarily. I assume the final form of the boss will look different. I think this is just Torgny from Ceroli. I do kind of wonder if this is going to be like a last hit gets the buffs, like if it's contested and everybody's fighting for it. I think it probably ends up being last hit. That to me sounds like a logical way to do it. So you're going to want to keep enemies away if you can. And we don't know how difficult it is really to solo. And there is something I noticed here, the ABC going on the left-hand side, the recycle icon. I don't know what that's about, but I'm definitely curious. You can see the boss spawning zones here illustrated on the map. They're on the outsides of the map. So even more reason to be on the outer lanes, I think is actually kind of a cool thing. So more reason to be in more parts of the map. And one boss spawn on each side of the map, but not actually, like it's kind of in the middle, like an Ark. So it's on the, like, bottom and, I guess I should, my camera's reversed. Okay. Anyways, whatever. You know what I meant. It's in the middle part of the map, but, like, do you go left? Do you go right? Do you get both? Is it worth it? Does it spawn when the Ark is spawning? Will that be worth it? We'll see. They mentioned an Elysian treasure event and, importantly, a new civilization at some point for Siege. I don't think we got any more details than that, but a Siege civilization kind of makes sense. I'm not particularly excited for a Siege civilization. That's not what I do. And it means that Siege players will definitely get me pretty good. But that means Siege players will have a way to get more stats. Siege players will have a way to get a special unit, potentially. And people think, oh, special unit, whatever. No. Special unit means more base stats. You will get wrecked with the extra base stats. We'll see. We'll see how it pans out, okay? This is an illustration of the Zenith Shop, I believe. And the reason I am making that assumption is because in this next screenshot, you can see you get that currency for every 5 million power train, and it looks like actually these are in the same area. But this is just like I illustrated it would be from Call of Dragons. You're subscribed to my channel. You've already seen that video. But what the developers, I believe, indicated is that 60 million power is what you're going to need to guarantee you get a city theme if it's a universal troop theme, which, like, yes, the 16% attack coming up will be that. But if they do include these other things in here, I don't know if they will or if this is just illustrative. It might just be illustrative. Hey, 25 million power for a 3% troop training speed Ark of Osiris skin. Training speed is the gift that keeps on giving, man. You just need to remember to swap to it, which, like, yeah, I don't. Then they've got, the cosmetic over here that goes around your city. I mean, I think this is basically what the setup's going to be like. It exactly replicates what's going on in Call of Dragons. It's the same folks that kind of collaborate closely for both of those games, Rise of Kingdoms and Call of Dragons. So it's unsurprising to me. And along those lines, this is a resource trading hub. So for those who do violate the terms of service to get resources from other players, I think those days are about to end. And the way this is going to work, I suspect, they didn't say this in the meetup, but I suspect will be exactly like how it works in Call of Dragons, where essentially you've got a place where you can just buy resources from either potentially other players, but, like, I don't know if the developers just put resources into the market. I kind of assume that at some point they potentially do. But either way, it doesn't matter. You have a separate currency. I apologize for the quality of the screenshot. You have a separate currency. You use that currency to then go in and purchase resources. Let me show you what this looks like in Call of Dragons. You see exactly what I'm talking about. I assume this is why, in part, you're subscribed to my channel, is I kind of give you an early access look at a bunch of this sort of stuff. But in Call of Dragons, you have these things called war pets, all right? And there is a special marketplace right over here. And there's a resource marketplace. So you can see my pet coins in the upper right next to my mana, okay? Here, I think I can tap it, right? There's pet coins, all right? And I can use my pet coins to buy resources. I buy any of the resources I want. I got gold, which is the equivalent of food in this game. I have wood, which is the same as wood, stone, which is the same as stone. Technically, it's called ore. And then mana is the equivalent of gold in Rise of Kingdoms, which has a higher price. So if the marketplace here is any indication as to the balance of these things, even though this is a rare, stone is a rare resource, just like it is in Rise of Kingdoms, right? The same amount of pet coins gets you the same amount of stone as it does wood, which is a little bit weird. But if I want to just get mana, which is kind of like the chase resource. It's far more expensive for an equivalent amount. And there's actually a limit to the amount of resources you can get each week in this game. There's also a limit to the amount of resources you can transfer between players. So, like, will this be the end of resource exchange between players, particularly for cash? I don't know. It's not my place to say. But if they balance it in a certain way, that could be the case. I guess we'll ultimately see. It's going to depend in part on how do you get the coins associated with the shop in Rise of Kingdoms, and what else can you use them for? Because in Call of Dragons, these are very important, very, very important for going in and buying pets, which is a topic of a separate video entirely. But there's a whole marketplace now in Call of Dragons where you could spend literally thousands of dollars worth of pet coins on pets. And you can put your pets up for auction and the whole 9 yards. That's not what this video is about, but I just wanted to showcase to you that, like, I don't think that coin that we saw for the resource marketplace in Rise of Kingdoms in that screenshot will be used exclusively for that. It may start for resources, but it could easily expand to other things as well. See, now that I explain that, you look at this screenshot, it makes a lot of sense, right? Like, the same little currency in the upper right, there's a different icon on it, sure. But like look at that. I guess they have the rates on here. And gold is the same rate as all the other resources. That doesn't make any sense. Either there's something I'm misunderstanding or I don't know. And it looks like there's a reserve of 999 of them. I don't know. They could be limited. The amount of resources that are available, hard to say. But I think directionally that gives you a sense of kind of what's coming to the game here. And then the keynote story. New key story, new key commanders. If these two figures are in fact the new commanders, which we'll talk about in just a second, then I think what you're looking at, I want to say obviously because I remember seeing a movie about Troy. I think it was just called Troy, okay? Where this is Achilles and that's Hector on the left. And easy choice. Achilles, Hector, done. That's who you're looking at. And so if that's the case, and this is them, and they show them to us in the exact same symmetry, which generally when I'm making a presentation, if I had a thing on the left on one slide, it's a thing on the left on the next slide. And then, the thing on the right is a thing on the right. So what I'm trying to say is that's probably Hector on the left, Achilles on the right. That would be my guess. And I think that's a pretty reasonable assumption, but it's very hard to say. But I think it's Achilles on the right because if you look at his boots, I'm just tinfoil hatting over here, but I think that's probably like a boot with a wing on it. And I think that's representative of Achilles. I'm just guessing. So that's why I think it's Achilles on the right here, and I think it's Hector on the left. And I don't want to spoil the movie, but there's a pretty incredible duel between them. So, okay, spoiler alert. But what kind of whatever. It's 15 years old. You had to have seen this. Or I'm so old that whatever. Oh, God, kids these days. So, that's what I think we're getting. Are they infantry or are they leadership? They shouldn't be archers. They shouldn't be cavalry. They shouldn't be engineering. Okay, cavalry is conceivable. Okay, cavalry is conceivable, but it was a ground war, as I recall. If either of them will be cavalry, I think it's going to be Hector on the left. I think just purely because of the word leadership. I mean, all the commanders were leaders though, so does this really work? But these were leaders of men for sure by a long shot. If it's Achilles and Hector. See, I just did the opposite of what I said earlier, where if it's on the left and to the right, you do first and second. If it's Hector and Achilles, whatever, you know where I'm going with this. I think they could be leadership. I want to say infantry, but we've gotten so many infantry. The last key story commander was infantry. That feels really weird to do. And I'll say, obviously, if they do like they did with Ragnar Prime, these could be any troop type, and then you use the item, and then they're, whatever troop type you want. So they could be specific to one thing, but in their key story, they can do a lot more. And that wouldn't surprise me. either. All in all, it looks like it was a really fun meetup. And if you haven't ever seen what a Rise of Kingdoms meetup looks like, dude, they're freaking hype. So check the card in the end screen for Plato's live stream. You can hear the devs and exactly what they said if you want to go watch that. Shout out again to Ruz and the King's Codex for sending this along. And anytime something cool happens in the Rise of Kingdoms universe, hit me up on Discord. I want to know about it. I was battling in Supreme Strife halfway through when I'm like, oh my God, how did I miss that this drop was happening? Bro, what a noob. Chisgule the noob. GG. If you enjoyed the video, throw a like and or subscribe. Thank you again to the makers of the game for sponsoring this video. Check the cards on the end screen. Until next time, you have fun smashing your enemies. Take care, everybody.